Thanks, pal.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
And the hashtag is MIMA Sunny.
Got it. Morning. Couple things I should say before I talk. This is a fairly nice sized crowd, so the more people that are in the room, the more I tend to curse. So I just want to apologize ahead of time. I'm not a bad dude. It's just when I get on stage and see a lot of people, Richard Pryor takes over my body, so I apologize. How many people in this room have no idea who I am or any of my spiel? Please raise your hand right now. That feels good, thank you. I figured that would be the case, so I'll take it back a little bit and then I'll get into what I want to talk about as my ego tries to recover. I was born in Belarus in the former Soviet Union, and my family came to the US in 1978 when I was 3 years old, and we were dead broke, really, really poor. We lived in a studio apartment with 8 family members, slightly bigger than this stage, so it pretty much sucked. It was hard, and one of the side jobs that my dad got was to be a stock boy in a liquor store in New Jersey. So he commuted from Queens, New York to New Jersey every day, and I still kind of bust his chops because I think he spent more on gas than he was getting paid back then, because minimum wage was like $1.35. And you know, it was hardcore, and it was the whole immigrant thing, and then finally we moved to New Jersey because my dad became the manager of the store, and you know, that was kind of our lives. You know, my dad worked every hour. You know, I basically didn't know my dad until I was 14 years old. Meanwhile, in Edison, New Jersey, which is where I lived, I became massively entrepreneurial. When I was 6, I had a 7 location lemonade stand empire. I forced all my friends to work the lemonade stands while I made signs and put them on trees. I always say we're in the eyeballs and ears business, and I was in that business very early on. I used to literally stand on the sidewalk and try to watch people drive by and try to figure out where to put signs on what trees based on where I thought they were looking. So that was awesome. You know, do you guys remember big wheels? Remember the big wheels things? So I used to ride my big wheels around town and pick up my cash like I was a mob boss or something. So that was an awesome business. I was pumped. Then I segued into one of the great businesses of my career. I used to rip the flowers out of people's yards and then ring their doorbell and sell it back to them. Huge business, you know, sat on inventory for a very short period of time, high profit, tremendous, highly recommend looking into it. So that was great. And then when I turned 12, I started a baseball card business, and that's where kind of a lot of my core principles come from. I did extremely well. I started selling in the malls of New Jersey, and this was when baseball cards were blowing up, and so I was making, you know, $1,000, $2,000 a weekend selling baseball cards. And when you have like $10,000 in cash under your bed at 13 and you're not selling weed, you're doing well. So that was awesome. And then my dad kind of ruined my life. I turned 14, and by being the oldest firstborn son in an immigrant family, my dad dragged me into the store. At this point, he'd bought in the store, a small store in Springfield, New Jersey, Shoppers Discount Liquors, and I went from making $2,000 a weekend in the malls of New Jersey, hanging out with my friends, looking cool to the ladies with all my cash, to being paid $2 an hour to bag ice in my dad's liquor store for 10 hours a day. So I went from 2 G's to 20 bones. That sucked. And more importantly, I wasn't allowed to leave the basement. And that was literally like, I was truly like Sloth from Goonies. You know, I was like, hey, you guys, get me out of here. So, terrible, hated it, used to cry going to work for the first year and a half. Finally, when I was like 16, my dad let me leave the basement, so I went upstairs to dust bottles, and then really the crossroads of my career came. On one specific Saturday, even though we were Shoppers Discount Liquors, and that was purely a liquor and beer store, the store was in Springfield, New Jersey, which actually happens to be the home of the Wilf family that owns the Vikings, so a little connection there. Springfield, New Jersey, so it was an affluent area around us, so there was wine demand, but we were pretty much a liquor store. And on this one given day, literally like 30 people came in asking for the same thing, which was Caymus 1990 Special Select Cabernet Sauvignon, which was just named the Wine Spectator Wine of the Year. And after about the 25th person that came in and, do you have Caymus 90? No, we're sold out, and left, I'm like, this is bullshit. I said to myself, I'm gonna just create back orders. I have no idea if we have back orders or if my dad can get it, but I'm not letting all these people just leave. So finally the next person comes in, you have Caymus cab? I'm like, no, but I'll take a back order. He's like, great. So I'm like, what's your name? Tells me name and phone number, address. I'm like, how much would you want of that? Couple bottles? He goes, no, I'll take 6 cases. I was like, fuck, this guy's an alcoholic. I was like, 6 cases, shit. And he was like, I was like, that's a lot of wine. You having a party? Because I was curious if he was an alcoholic. And he goes, no, I collect wine. And that was it. I was like, oh. I was like, Frank Thomas, Kirby Puckett, Ken Griffey Jr., Caymus, Opus 1, Silver Oak, same shit, I can do this. So I literally took all my energy of collecting athlete, memorabilia and sports cards and all that, and focused and decided right then on the floor that I would become the single greatest wine expert of all time. I decided I wanted to build the biggest wine store of all time, and it's all I really gave a shit about. I failed all my classes, completely read the Wine Spectator in class, was all in. And just, really the amount of wine knowledge I gained from 16 to 18 and the amount of reading about wine that I did should really be illegal. It was ridiculous. It was really uncomfortable, but it was, ironic. Even though my parents are Eastern European and were immigrants, and even though we were in a liquor business, they had no interest in letting me taste the product. So all I had was kind of the reading. I was focused, I was into it. Then I kind of saw the web, kind of popping up in 1994 or 5, it hit my radar. And in 1997, because I desperately wanted to change the name of my family's liquor store business, we were Shoppers Discount Liquors, I registered WineLibrary.com and launched WineLibrary.com in 1997. I knew this was the way I was going to trick my dad into changing the name of the store because I saw where things were going. And in 1998, I took over the family business. And from 1998 to 2005, I grew the revenue of Wine Library from a $3 to a $60 million a year business. So that was good because AJ, my 11-year younger brother, had a new Lexus and a basketball court, even though I had to buy my own fucking Genesis. No issues, no big deal. And so life was good and everything was great. And so, my friends thought I made it and it was all awesome. And so then I turned 30 in 2005 and I was driving from my Manhattan apartment to the store, which is in New Jersey. And somewhere around the New Jersey Turnpike, I realized that I wasn't 100% happy anymore. And the reason I wasn't 100% happy was because I didn't think that if I stayed the course of Wine Library and WineLibrary.com that I'd be able to buy the New York Jets. And so for me, what I want to do is buy the New York Jets. And the liquor laws in America suck shit, right? So we can't, give me something. Clap again. I'm hugging your ass after this. You're right, they blow. And here's why. I can't ship wine to Mass. I can't ship wine to Maryland. I can't ship wine. We just got a letter at Wine Library a few weeks ago that we could no longer ship to Texas. And so literally in 4 seconds, we lost $4.7 million in revenue. That was it. And so I knew, I was naive in my 20s, like this is gonna change. Nobody's gonna let the wholesalers continue to pay off the politicians and create this law that kills the consumer. The internet's coming, transparency, all that. Fact of the matter is, the retailers are just not aligned. Most are really small. For example, there's some great stores, Haskell's. You guys have some great stores, but the problem is a lot of mom and pop players. Everybody has regional players, and to get 800 regional players together to understand the better good for all of them is virtually impossible. And so I was like, this is not gonna happen. I'm unhappy, I'm out. So I came to the store, it was the holidays, and what I remember thinking then was, I went into my IT department because we were doing a lot of internet business. There was 3 full-time developers, and at lunch that day, once again, they were watching Zay Frank, the show. How many people in this room know who Zay Frank is? Raise your hand. This is an awesome crowd. Good job. So Zay was like one of the first video bloggers, and they're like, they're just laughing at lunch, and he's the greatest. I'm extremely, to the most unhealthy level, competitive. So I walk in, and they're watching, and they're like, Zay's so funny. I'm like, I can do that shit. They're like, no way, Zay is the shit. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck Zay. I'm gonna start my own video blog, and I'm gonna do it about the thing I know, which is wine. So In February of 2006, I started Wine Library TV because in my opinion, it was the one thing I could build that nobody could take away from me. No wholesalers, nobody. I could build my personal brand. And so from 2006 to now, just taped an episode yesterday, I continue to do a daily wine video blog called Wine Library TV, which in essence is the reason I'm standing here. From 2006 to 2000 and midway through 07, for 18 months, Wine Library TV was no big deal. Just plugging along, running the marathon. The 96 months in a row that I ran winelibrary.com, it grew at least 20% from the month over from the prior year. So March of 2000 was at least 20% higher or more sales than March of 99. So 96 straight months, that's how you get from 3 to 60 quick. The first month I did Wine Library TV, March of 2006, we were flat. So not only was my business not growing, but nobody was watching except my mom. And slowly but surely, I started building up some traction. Then New York Magazine in 2007 wrote a piece about it. It led to Time Magazine writing a piece. And then I got an email from Conan O'Brien's producers that they wanted me on the show. I went on Conan, I made him eat dirt and his sock. Millions of people watched it on YouTube. Next morning, every talent agency in the country wanted to sign me. I signed with CAA, got offered a lot of TV stuff, blah, blah, blah. So, just as I'm about to kind of become America's Wine Guy, Bravo offers me a show, allows me to be a judge on Top Chef, and then they'll kind of launch me from that, which is a pretty sick platform, as you guys can imagine. I recognized I didn't want to be America's Wine Guy, though I love it, and I'm thrilled, and I'm all in, I continue to do it. I also wanted to talk about the thing that I love the most, which was building businesses, the marketing, and most importantly, storytelling when it comes to business. I know how I built Wine Library in that 8-year period, and I know how I built my own brand and the things around my brand in the last 5 years, and there's a substantial difference, and it's what I want to talk to you guys about. We're really good as human beings in drawing lines in the sand. I'm gonna ask you guys to do something this morning. Please don't bullshit me. It's, got here late last night, it's early, I love you, you love me, let's do this. I need you to stand up, but wait, not yet. How many people, stand up if this is true, and let's really think about this. Lying is the devil. All right? So I'm gonna need you to stand. I don't care how lazy, I don't give a shit if you drank 40 shots of tequila last night, you're standing. Ready? Please stand, and don't lie if you said the following to yourself ever in your life. I'm not getting a Facebook account. Why in the world would I need a Facebook account? Please stand. Don't lie. There's no reason to lie. Please stand. I'm gonna wait a second because I know there's a couple of you bullshitting. Don't sit down yet. I'm waiting. All right, the following people here said that they would never get a Facebook account. If you still don't have a Facebook account, continue to stand. If you do have a Facebook account, please sit down. Hold on, hold on. Stand if you do not have a Facebook account. Stand if you do not have a Facebook account. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's clap it up for these 7. I have no idea why the fuck you 7 people are here. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. I totally get it. Awesome. All right, now, and this one's gonna hurt, but this is not a room of 18-year-olds, and I'm gonna need you to go there. You're not gonna wanna stand for this one, but I need you to do this for me. How many of you said, this is about a decade old now, maybe even older. I'm not getting a fucking cell phone. Why in the world would I want anybody to contact me anytime they want? I don't want to be bothered. That is insane. I'll call them when I want to call them. Don't fucking lie. Stand up. Stand up. Come on. Play with me here. Tell the truth. Wait. Fight it. There's a couple more in here. I can feel it in my heart. Please stand up. Don't lie. Okay? Just curious, if you do not have a cell phone, you can continue to stand, but I need you to sit down if you do have a cell phone. Just curious. Is that a 00? Is that Robert Parrish? Here's what I know. We as human beings love to draw lines in the sand. We hear new shit and we say, we're not gonna do that. Why in the fuck am I gonna get a Foursquare Gowalla account and check in to where I go? Why would I do that? Well, I don't know, asshole. Maybe when Jack Daniels gives you a free shot at the bar, you're gonna fucking check in. We are living through not one of the, we are living through the greatest culture shift ever. Right now. The modern consumer internet that we are all using is 15 years old. It's been 15 years or so that since AOL spammed our actual mailboxes with those CDs. 15. The internet hasn't had sex yet, and it's dominating. Actually, I've used that line a little bit, and lately I'm getting emails from people like, you know, the kids are getting a little early these days, so it scares me a little bit. Guys, there is so much shit going on. By the way, real quick, I'll jump in now before I really get into the flow. My real agenda here today is, because we all know this shit, you don't need me lecturing you about all this horse shit. I'd love to do a ton of Q&A, so I don't know if we have runners in the back, but in a little bit, I'm gonna cut this, I'm gonna tighten it up, but I really wanna do Q&A if there's, you know, because I know I've been watching tweets, there's people here who have known my stuff, so it's a great opportunity to maybe do some Q&A, so keep in mind if you have any questions. We are going through such a massive culture shift. How many people here have nieces or nephews or children or really close acquaintances that have children, or you know, the nieces, nephews, and children are between the ages of 13 and 15 years old? Raise your hand. Okay, so you guys are gonna know this, and other of you have read it, but you haven't lived it. The average 14-year-old has spent last month sending 3,100 texts and making 3 phone calls. That's a motherfucking culture shift. Here's another thing that I love. Now, you know, one thing I didn't tell you was about a year ago, my brother AJ and I started a consulting social media strategy company called Vaynermedia. So we have clients like PepsiCo. You should definitely check out Bon in session. He's next up. He's great. PepsiCo, Campbell's, Merck, Capitol Records, New York Jets. We blew up the NHL, went from 0 to 500,000 fans without doing anything but giving a fuck. I'll get to that in a minute. And what I know is this, that we are going through a massive culture shift, and I'm not one of these people who thinks old media is dead. I don't believe that at all. I'm thrilled about TV, pumped for radio. I could care less. As a matter of fact, I don't give a shit about Facebook, Foursquare, Twitter, Tumblr, Daily Booth. Don't give a rat's ass. I could care less about the platform. It's always the message. I promise you, if people still went outside and looked in the air to get their message, I'd be the first one on top of this Hilton right now doing smoke signals. I'd be doing this. First one. People get way too caught up in the platform, and the debate is, you know, 2007 when I was doing this, every question, Gary, how do we convince people that Twitter is gonna be legit? I'm like, we don't. I'm like, this is our time. Take advantage, grow your business, take advantage of your competitive knowledge, because you're gonna be the same guy who's gonna be pissed when everybody's using Twitter. You know, it's always like that band thing, right? Like you love your band when only you know it. And then they blow up and they're, you know, on GMA and all this, and you're like, oh, fucking sellouts. Same thing we saw with Twitter, right? Everybody's like, Gary, how do we convince? How do we convince? Now they're like, fuck Twitter, da da da. You know, happens all the time. Here's what I know. Major culture shifts. Outdoor media, I'm obsessed. I run billboards for Wine Library. I did some billboards for Crush It. I really am interested in outdoor. I think there's some really fascinating like branding that comes with outdoor billboards, but let's not get it twisted. There's culture shifts. Not only are people not consuming as many outdoor billboards, they're not consuming the fucking road. I'm scared shitless to drive. Have you guys looked at your fellow drivers? They're texting. Culture shift. Oprah's right about that one. We need to sign that pledge. Major culture shifts, and that's what I'm fascinated in. The things that I've angel invested in, Gowalla, Tumblr, Twitter, those kind of things. Why were they exciting to me when I was investing? Because they were things that people said they weren't going to do that I knew they were. And that's what we need to focus on. That's where our opportunity is. And more importantly than that, we need to understand where social media is relevant today in 2010 going into 11. Because the fact of the matter is, The eyeballs outside of Facebook are still not all the way there. Twitter's got a big following, but the fact of the matter is that there's only a couple platforms, mainly Facebook and YouTube, that can really drive the kind of relevance that a big company can really look for. To me, it's the emerging platform opportunities that are happening. There's so much going on. How many people in this room use Quora? Raise your hand. Raise them high. 2, 3. Four. You should absolutely check out Quora. It's a Q&A platform. I think it has a lot of value. And while it's small and high value and doesn't become Yahoo Answers, unless they have a way to make that happen, and I'm sure that's going to be their battle, it has enormous value. There's things, how many people in this room use Daily Booth? Raise your hand. 2. Massive community if you want to reach people. Very similar to what Twitter was doing early on. And there's all these emerging things. And really, social media has become a two-trick pony, right? Everybody's so obsessed about what they're doing on Facebook and Twitter, and there's so much other shit going on. A lot of lines being drawn in the sand of what people are using or not. Meanwhile, tons of community, it's like fishing. Facebook and Twitter are very much the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, tons of fish, but a shitload of fishermen. And there's a lot of pockets to sell your story, tell your story, engage on the web, and I think a lot of people are missing it. The other thing that I'm massively focused on right now is the layering of social media on top of traditional media. I think this is a huge category that needs to be focused on dramatically more. One thing that I'm hoping, I'm gonna do it right now, right here, in Minnesota. We will never allow this again. I want you guys to, there's enough of us here, we can start this. Can we please collectively start calling out every company that does the following? How many times are we gonna have to see billboards or print or TV commercials where at the end they put the fucking Facebook and Twitter logo there? Can we stop this horse shit? That's like putting a fucking telephone picture there. We don't know your fucking handle, dick. Please, can we make that pledge? Can you guys start calling them out? Ridiculousness. And what we really need to call out, and what I'm really focused on, and the new book I'm writing that's coming out in March called The Thank You Economy is completely about, is this. I firmly believe, in my heart, completely, that 99% of the businesses in America, at least I can speak to that, don't give a fuck. They just don't give a fuck about their customer. And that is not going to fly much longer, and here's why. Because we're more connected than ever, because word of mouth has been activated by these tools, because things like Facebook have mapped your social graph, and we have these connections, by virtue, by trickle down, we now live in small town rules again. We are one massive small town again. I know so much shit about tons of people in this room that I never could have 10 years ago. And that is a very big culture shift, guys. Customer service is going to be a massive battleground. A massive battleground. Because here's why. A woman on the Upper East Side of New York, the biggest yenta on the Upper East Side in New York City, has an amazing experience at a restaurant, and maybe she can tell 20 people 10 years ago, right? She picks up the phone, calls 4 girlfriends, has a tea that day, she's a little bit of a socialite, tells another 7, 20 massive, that's 25 she could tell, right? Now, the weirdest introvert who lives in his mom's basement in Iowa can go to a store, have an experience, and let 6,000 people know. That is a substantial culture shift. Plus, the context is so fucking important. Every day I hear from companies, Gary, this is why, this is what I'm trying to tackle with the thank you economy, so I'm cuddling up nicely to Nielsen's, because that's the stamp of approval everybody's looking for. Gary, what's the ROI of social media? What's the ROI, right? I see the head shaking. What's the ROI? Well, I don't know, fuckface. What's the ROI of the relationship of you and your mother? Was an answer I recently gave to a CMO, which did not go over well. So keep that one in your pocket. Though the CEO did love it, I knew it. I could feel the tension. Anyway, and I meant what I said. Guys, let me ask you a question. How many people here feel that the relationships they have on Facebook and Twitter with people that were strangers prior to them are not real relationships? Raise your hand. You do? Yeah, a little bit? So, come on up here. What's your name?
Maggie.
Maggie? How are you?
Good.
So you feel that your relationships on Facebook and Twitter are not real?
Some of them, yeah.
Some of them not real. Why? Give me that.
Because they befriended me and I just befriended them back.
So they friended you and friended you back. And obviously that's not real.
Well, I mean, I don't talk to them much, so to me, I'm not investing.
Yeah. I'm so fucking pumped. Thank you. So she's right? This is the funny thing. Thanks so much. This is the funny thing. She said, I don't know if you guys heard, they friended me and I friended them back. Classic 2007 Twitter move, by the way. Remember that? You gotta friend everybody back, fuck. Anyway, she's right. And this is what I'm really, really paying attention to. This is what's really fascinating to me. Just because they're on Facebook or Twitter, they are somewhat of a relationship conceivably if you ever interact with them. You know, I feel like the question that I should have asked is if you actually interact with them, right? Any interaction you have online, to me, feels so ridiculously real. Now, when I go do a book signing in a town where I've maybe, Boston, where I went to school, let's say, friends that I went to school with, they come to a signing, the feeling I have towards them is definitely different than the feeling I have towards somebody, that I've met on Twitter. But I promise you, the people that I've met on Twitter totally feel different to me than the stranger's face that's in line. And there's these layers of relationships, and I think we are living through a very stunning time. The fact that we are allowing, as human beings, the humanization of business to happen right now is stunning. It really is. Businesses have never had it better. I'll tell you why. I see the Best Buy logo. They interact their ass off, right? They do their thing, customers feel good about it, somebody says something, they engage with it, they answer it, and the customer feels good. Let me paint you a picture of why this is such a big culture shift. Let's turn back the clock, circa 1999. I'm in my house. I'm watching the game. I'm drinking a Bud Light. I look at my friend. You know what? This Bud Light sucks. I'm never ordering Bud Light again. Fuck this. 2 seconds later, ding dong. I open the door. Hey Gary, it's Paul from Bud Light. I'm really, really sorry that you hate Bud Light. What can I do to fix it? Maybe you should try our new lime flavor. It's delish. I would punch that fucker in the face. I would also probably move within 30 days. I'd be scared shitless. That would scare me. Now, you do that virtually online, and Bud Light's the greatest thing since sliced bread. They gave a fuck. That is stunning. That culture shift is massive, and I feel terrible for every single marketer and business that didn't have the opportunity to engage with customers at this kind of level, that paid for the bullshit, focus groups that meant nothing because they were like in the back of a mall, controlled and completely fake. There's such a real case study and engagement going on right now in the world, and this opportunity is substantial. It's so funny, I built Wine Library TV by going into forums and blogs and just becoming part of the community. There was no Facebook and Twitter, and when Twitter came, it was, everybody's so broken on how they look at Twitter. Everybody's like, especially if you're out of the pocket, they're like, what am I gonna say? Who cares if I'm eating a pizza? You're right, don't say shit. I spend 99% of my engagements as @replies. I live on search.twitter.com. I built Wine Library TV on searching Chardonnay, and when somebody said having a Chardonnay tonight, I didn't say, oh cool, we have a sale on Chardonnay at winelibrary.com, and I didn't say, hey, check out this show I did on Chardonnay. I just said, what kind? And can I help you? And how long should it breathe? Here's the problem. Marketers are stuck in the mentality that we've been in for 100 years, which is fucking push. Radio, TV, print, billboard, all we ever did was push our message. That's what it was. That was the game. Push it, stack it high, let it fly, pound it down their throat. Social is completely different. It is an absolute human element, and it's a much bigger pull mechanism. The problem with everybody on these platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or any other platform, is they're trying to close business on the first move like they're a fucking 19-year-old dude. Just a little patience goes a long way, I promise. And that is the culture that we're seeing. It's so early. It is my firm belief, that most brands and businesses that are in social right now are hurting their business by being there. I think a lot of companies are doing massive damage because they don't have the proper sensibility. And I don't want to pick on PR companies, but PR companies have really hurt my feelings in general. And I'm not picking on them, they played a game, that's their game. But watching PR companies manage communities on Facebook has been a disaster zone. because PR has always been in B2B. You know, they've always pitched, and it's been shocking how much it's been pushed and no communication. You have to, in 2011, as a brand, give a fuck. And your intentions are to build relationship and close later. That is the key blueprint that everybody's gonna be going through. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have no choice, because that's the battleground. Jeff Bezos bought Zappos. Why? Paid $1.2 billion for Zappos. Real money. Bezos has been really good at being early to market throughout his career. I really do believe the thank you economy was born and recognized the day Amazon bought Zappos. He bought them for a very specific reason. From the vendors that I know, Bezos was concerned, I'm sure, on the fact that Zappos was outselling Amazon on certain SKUs, which makes no sense when it comes to retail. Amazon was cheaper. Amazon's ridiculously bigger. We all know Zappos because we live in this pocket. Get outside our pocket, you'd be surprised how many people never heard of it. And Amazon has Prime. How many people here have Amazon Prime? Use it, raise your hand. A little bit less than I thought. That being said, they were completely being outsold. Why? Because Zappos was beating them in culture. They were beating them in DNA. They were out-caring them to the consumer, and that was shifting. That is important data. It's not just cool. And let me tell you something. I have no interest in being zen and like, oh, let's all love each other and hug and fucking rock climb and drink tea and eat flowers. I don't give a fuck about that. This is real business. And this is a real business shift. And the reason a company sells for $1 billion is real business, because the new battleground is gonna be in the sense that we are now engaging with each other, and companies have to be a part of that and have to have this sensibility. Everybody's in the tactic business right now. Every meeting you hear and things I hear, what if we do a retweet contest and 100 people retweet us, we'll do this. Everything is tactic. If we get 1,000 more followers, we'll give $1,000 to Haiti. Give a fucking $1,000 to Haiti and shut the fuck up. All tactic. Until companies have true strategy and understand what's really happening, they're gonna continue to lose and they're gonna hurt their brand. They're going to. But this battleground is not going anywhere. We are going through major culture shifts. Our eyeballs are shifting. All we care about is where eyeballs go. And eyeballs are going to different places, whether they're iPads, the phone is like, I mean, mobile is the battleground. It's, you know, we're lazy. And our phone makes it a lot easier. And we need to pay attention to those trends. So I think we're going through a spectacular culture shift. I think that most small businesses have such an opportunity to level the playing field in this environment. But what I've been noticing, if you're a small business, is this. I think there's been too much of a conventional wisdom that just because you're small, you care more than big. I don't know about you guys, but I've been stunned by the lack of customer service or actually giving a crap that I've seen from small businesses lately. And something I'm kind of paying attention to. I think people have defaulted in, well, I'm a local bookstore. I'm nicer than Amazon. I give a crap. Meanwhile, the only employee in the store is like some 15-year-old kid who's on his cell phone in the back of the register. No service. I think that we're living in a time and age where, this is a good story. My brother AJ and my mom went out to dinner the other night. And they called ahead to the Mexican restaurant and they said, we're gonna be there 8:30, great, boom, boom, boom. They get there, and AJ walks up, and they say, it's gonna be another 40 minutes. And they were on a tight schedule. So AJ takes out his phone and starts, I think he was gonna text me, because I think we had a meeting on the back end. But the hostess freaked out, ran to the back, got the owner, and AJ and mom were sitting down in 2 minutes. Now I'm telling you this because I want you to use this move, because it's tremendous. But what I think is fascinating is the culture shift. The fact that she was scared he was gonna negative review on Yelp or tweet out is very fascinating and is very telling. And more importantly, I'm not joking, use that move, it's fucking butter. Smooth. These things are happening daily. We're seeing the shifts. I mean, we all know. Think about how many of you right now are sitting and are stunned that your grandma is on Facebook, that Aunt Sue is rocking Facebook and she's got so much going on in Farmville, she has no time to do anything else. And that gets me to another point. How many people in this room know what Cy World is? CY World, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, got you. Cy World, social network in South Korea. Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, same concept, right? Except your profile is your room. It's a room. Here's where it gets real interesting. It's a blank fucking room. So, if you want a bed, you gotta buy it with real cash. And if you want a lamp, you gotta buy it with real cash. And you get a radio, which is really brilliant. And then if you wanna listen to music, you've gotta buy it with real cash. And they're gonna book over $1 billion in sales this year. Virtual currency is coming, and it's coming strong. It's why people are quietly not paying attention to what's going on with Facebook credits, but I promise you, is gonna be something that's talked about on this stage next year. Somebody will be up here, there'll be a session with Facebook credits, and everybody's gonna understand why Facebook, which is really scary close and pretty much there to being this, which is your identity. And once you're this, it's real easy to become this. And so when I hear people saying, well, how are they gonna make money? Amex and Visa does okay. And oh, by the way, they're not running on 5 points, they're gonna be running on 30% margin on their credits. And so when they signed a 5-year deal with Zynga, by the way, Zynga, valued at $3-4 billion, right? Everybody gets their panties in a bunch about Facebook's valuation. Zynga's got a $3 to $4 billion valuation. If, you know, based on them giving 30 points off the top to Facebook because they have to use Facebook credits now, and the fact that from some numbers I've heard from people on the inside of how much they're spending on Facebook ads to drive their games, it's believed that Facebook is getting 50% of all of Zynga's dollars. They're the platform. It's wild stuff. I'm telling you, this is classic. This has always happened. It's culture shifts. It's like the NFL. All these speedy little guys like Harvey that you guys have and Spillers and all these guys didn't even get drafted 15 years ago. If they're too small, things change and we're really bad at recognizing them. And we draw these lines like we saw earlier, and then that's that. There is so much shit coming, so much. And you know what? Don't draw lines in the sand. As much as I don't want it, when I hear that we can control shit from our brain and I have to swallow this chip, sure, I'm gonna be petrified of cancer, but I will be the first fucker swallowing that chip. Awesome. And that's the stuff that's coming. I mean, could you imagine showing somebody this world 30, 40 years ago? Virtual currency is important. Let me explain to you real quick why I think virtual currency is important, and then we'll go into Q&A. Virtual currency is important because of this. Why am I rocking this shoe? Because it has a Nike logo on it, and we really want to communicate and express ourselves. It's how we roll. How you dress, that hat you're wearing, you know, what music you listen to. Why do you think people had the boombox outside in the ghetto in the 80s? That big ass fucking boombox? Because they wanted people to hear what they were listening to because it told the story of who they were to their community. Now that we're spending all our times in our screens, your badges and your credits and your logos and this and that and all your virtual currency is going to express to your social graph who you are. And that is massively important to people. It is the core of who we are as people. It's going to be a massive business, and we're all going to figure out how to brand it, how to make money in it, and how to use it for the story that we're trying to tell. I'd like to go into Q&A based on the time, but I'll keep yapping if nobody's got questions. But what I've heard is that the wonderful people at Larkin Hoffman, the platinum sponsors, are giving $4,000 cash to anybody who asks a question. Let's hear it for Larkin. Amazing. You guys are amazing. 5,000. Amazing. All right, questions, raise your hands. Don't be scared. Awesome, you're the best. Thanks for popping the cherry.
Hi, Gary. I'm a huge fan.
Oh shit, where are you?
I'm over here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I've been watching your show for a really long time, so.
I appreciate it.
What I want to know is how do you get marketing back to be entrepreneurial?
Why can't I hear shit? What did you say?
How do you get marketing to go back to the entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah. You know, I really think that this whole push is pushing that, right? I think the transparency, and it's there. I'm sitting in these meetings with Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies, and even in the last 18 months of VaynerMedia, it blows my mind how the conversation has changed. People really in the ostrich phase a couple years ago, right? Head in the sand, like if we're not looking, everybody was acting like a 2-year-old playing hide and go seek. You ever watch a 2-year-old play hide and go seek? This is their move, but we can still see you, right? And so I think everybody was playing that. I think more people now are recognizing that we're kind of here. And by the way, we're far from here, but clearly we've moved. I mean, the numbers are growing every day. People are starting to see results, and starting to see ROI on campaigns. The problem is, I'm more focused on creative than I am the platforms, to be honest with you. I think the creative collectively sucks. Here's the thing. I truly believe that marketers don't recognize how good the consumer's bullshit radars are. We're really good. We're really good. And they think they're smart. And you know why? They never had feedback. They'd run a commercial, they'd see it, and they'd be like, yeah. And then sales would spike, but that's because Walmart had an end cap, right? And they didn't really tie them together. But now we can hear people's responses in the trenches of these platforms, and we have a much better sense. I think naturally, and here's my theory, I think everything goes through ups and downs, right? Everything old is, new is old, and old is new again, and all that. We are just living through the greatest big box retail era ever. Biggest price, Costco, Walmart, BJ's, Target. We're living through that world. I think we're really going now the other way, where the hand-to-hand combat. Marketing is about to get really, really hard. It's really gonna become one-on-one combat. It's like the difference between how we fought World War II and Vietnam, really. Marketing has always been, big platforms, big planes, drop the bombs, tanks, big, right? And then you get into the wars where you're in the woods and it's one-on-one. Even the war we're in now, we gotta go to the tribe, convince the head guy for 37 people, get on our side. It gets really, really hard. I think, the way wars have been fought is a blueprint for where marketing is going. It's gonna be a whole lot of pockets. I think it's naturally gonna go there. I don't think we need to force it. Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name is Pete.
Pete, how are you?
I'm great.
What are you, like a nighttime radio host? Smooth jazz with Pete. Cuddle up to your lady and listen to this.
I work at a
Backstreet Boys.
1976 phone number service.
What's up, man? What can I help you with?
First and foremost, Gary, thank you for being
Sure,
here.
man.
And my question for you is...
By the way, you really need to monetize your voice. I'm sorry, I can't sit here and deal with it. Okay, go ahead.
My question for you is, how do you feel, what are your thoughts on the battle between data and social? I see a current trend in marketing being the trend of data, of knowing information about customers.
Yep.
And that data, that information is very, well, let's just say it's not very human.
Right.
But the social element, the social side of marketing is very
massively.
human. So how,
Yeah. You work.
what's the balance?
Easy. This is all human elements. You use them together, right? I mean, it's like if you've ever been in sales or if you're a people person, I mean, anytime I know more data about the person I'm speaking with, we're gonna have a better relationship. So you take the knowledge base and you humanize it. It's literally like, it's silly little things. Even like referencing Kirby Puckett here makes much more sense than anywhere else in my opening story, right? Because I had a couple 85 tops Kirby Pucketts. So, I think there's a connection there, and that goes on one-on-one. One of the big things that I'm obsessed with is shock and awe marketing. One of the things I'm telling my people now at Wine Library is, the first major snowstorm that we're gonna have this year in New Jersey, we've hired a cleanup crew, snow plowing crew, and we're gonna pave the 30 top customers' driveways for them, out of nowhere. And we've now started attaching emails to social profiles of our customers. So this week we're running and we're looking and following them on Facebook and Twitter, and if one of them says last night, like, fuck yeah, big win by the Bears, let's say, right? Fuck the Bears, right? Boo, boo. But fuck the Packers too, right? Boo, yes. Anyway, if we saw that, the kind of things we're looking to do is we're gonna go on eBay and order a Jay Cutler signed jersey and send it to that customer and thank them. I think the data and giving a crap and surprising your customer can be really, really interesting. I think it looks ugly when it's a cookie on a website and retargeted and all that, but I think if you know how to handle it and if you humanize it, back to the core, if you humanize it instead of exploit it, it's like with great power comes great responsibility. We're gonna have more data on our customers than ever. The companies that try to cheese it up and try to get the best ROI and this and that are gonna lose because the bullshit radars that I just talked about are better than I think we really think. The companies that try to do those kind of acts of kindness as a marketing employee, I think are gonna have much more upside. So I think you use it, but you use it properly. Questions? $5,000 in cash. How about this? Next person asks me a question, I will send a free bottle of wine to.
Hi, Gary. My name's Ward Tongan, and my question is the whole co-location movement.
I'm sorry, why am I?
The co-location movement
Yes.
of us not working in our offices but anywhere else.
Yes.
How is the internet, social media, and this culture shift you're talking about affecting that, and how fast do you think it'll move?
Of people not working from wherever they want?
Correct.
Yeah. I'm buying up enormous amounts of property in San Diego based on this theory. I think it's gonna take some time. It's funny, for such a new wave guy, I would never let a single employee that ever works with me work from home, and I'll tell you why. And I get my chops busted on this on Twitter all the time. When I'm hiring a new designer, developer, project manager at Vaynermedia, I'll tweet it, and I'll get like 50 tweets like, Gary, you're an idiot, like da-da-da. I'm so obsessed with creating culture and the DNA of what our company is that I need to touch my employee. Not inappropriately, but like I need to feel it, I need to be there, I need to create that energy. I want them to taste what we're all about, right? So I think it's gonna be a big movement. I think a lot of people are gonna do it, and obviously video conferencing, technology is gonna create a whole different world, right? I think it comes down to the DNA of the ownership. Jason Fried from 37 Signals, great friend of mine. He'd rather his employees be skydiving and working at the same time. Like, he wants that. I, on the other hand, my DNA is that I really want this family team, well, that's a little inappropriate, I apologize, but like team mentality, so I need that person there. But I think the option for companies to go there is greater and greater every day, and I think it's going to become, definitely part of the culture.
Thank you very much.
For sure, man. Thanks for asking a question.
Nice
What kind of wine?
A nice Malbec.
Malbec, done. I'll grab you before I'm done. Need your address. Questions? Please. I'll melt. What are you afraid of? What am I afraid of? Way to speak out of turn, Dick. There's also a lady back there that has a question. What am I afraid of? The only thing I'm truly afraid of is the health of my family. When it comes to business and marketing and this stuff, nothing's scary when it's what you're good at, right? It's like everybody has DNA. This is something I'm good at. I couldn't be a student. I couldn't do a lot of things. But what I can do is kind of see where things are going slightly early, hence having a liquor store, local New Jersey liquor store on the web in '97, hence being a video blogger early on, hence being on Twitter heavily and pushing it in '06. So I have that kind of DNA, which is why I got into angel investing. I was tired of being right. I wanted to make some cash. I got to buy the jets. I need a couple Billy. So I'm truly only afraid about the things that matter most. I mean, as much as I'm obsessed with this, and I'm obsessed with the Jets and watch every play since 1982. By the way, we're going to beat your faces in on Monday night in 2 weeks. Only thing I really give a shit about is my family and closest friends. And so, the health of them is, it's actually like really serious. I think about it almost daily. That's how important it is to me. Hello, dear.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. What's your name?
Deborah?
Deborah, how are you?
Good.
Awesome. Why'd I ask twice? Apologize. Go ahead.
My question is, do you have a one-sentence response that I can give to people I work for who come to me and say, for no particular reason, we need social media. We need to be in social media. We need podcasts.
Yeah.
We need to be on Facebook.
It's better than a sentence. It's one word. Why? Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think people, and I talk about this a lot in the new book, people are in social, and why I talked about today, like, think about how many social media peeps are on stage right now talking about people should not be in social media and they're hurting themselves. Not a common thing that I've seen around, and I'm really dead serious about it. People are playing the keeping up with the Joneses, right? They're in social because everybody's in social. They have no strategy. And at best, they'll go to a conference like this and pick up a or two tactics. And it has no chance. It has literally no chance. Everything we do is try to build culture to the highest level we can, because once there's a belief that this is actually going to be a battleground, and listen, it's different everywhere. I'm not mad at corporate America for not completely being all in on this. Everybody's real mad. They live in a different game. They're being looked at quarterly. This is a fucking marathon. This is a real relationship. Relationships that you try to build for 48 hours are usually cheap and quick, but sometimes really fun. You know, on the flip side, you know, the kind of, you know, relationships we're looking to build in social are the kinds you end up putting a ring on it, like Beyonce style, you know? Like, so I think that, you know, it depends on your company, it depends on the patience level. To me, every company, big or small, public, top 100 or really tiny, needs to create a ninja force, a Navy SEALs unit that really is all in and does it. Because you've gotta be all in mentally, because nobody really understands. Let me rephrase, very few people are understanding why and how. Back to my opening line, this is an enormous, I'm telling you with all my heart, we are grossly, I'm gonna be Khrushchev real quick. We are massively underestimating this culture shift. This is fucking huge, and people are treating it like this little thing. It's the next little thing. This is the biggest shift in the way we communicate ever. And you've got to really have a strategy, not like, let's have a YouTube channel and make a funny video in the office, because that's going to mean jack shit.
Well, the answer I gave is why.
Yeah.
And now I need.
You need a follow-up?
I need the other.
Well, I think, listen, by the way, back to my point earlier, I'm not doing this because I want to go rock climb and go Zen and sit Indian style. I want to sell products, create business. If you understand how that works, you know, here's the big thing. So many people, and this is, pay attention to this, when you're dealing with this, most people are salespeople, not marketers. And there's a big difference. And I'm seeing it quite a bit. And you see it even at the highest levels, even CEO, CMO style. So you have to find the people that are marketers. We're vetting our clients very heavily because we need people to understand what we're doing here. Because it can happen quickly if you come from the right place. But the second you don't come from the right place, we're just too good. I'm telling you, we're just too good. And we taste it and we understand it and we tune it out. What are the CTRs of banner ads in 94, 95, 96? Fucking awesome. 10%, now 0.04 and people are high-fiving. What are the open rates? How many of you guys have done email marketing in your career? Raise your hand. Fuck, awesome. Remember email marketing in 1999 and 2000? How do you think I built Wine Library so fast? Now, what are our open rates compared to what they used to be? Conversion rates, they die, you know why? Because we pounded our poor customers into submission. We pounded them with sales because it was working, I get it. But what was the cost? What was the cost? What was the cost? And the social one is even bigger because it's even more human. And if you can really lose them, you know? And so, tie them into something, create a true campaign, and understand other variables. Why are we not talking about lifetime value of customer enough? That's a huge factor, and so much of what social can bring to the table. A real relationship has massive lifetime value. There's a lot of things you guys are overpaying because you've cut your hair with the same person for so long, or the same person has cut your grass. You have an emotional relationship there. That is what this social platform is going to allow, for us to create real relationship. We can finally scale caring. We can. You just have to want to. Yes, sir.
Gary, this is Jeff.
Jeff, put it closer to your mic.
Yeah, I was.
How you doing, man?
Good. I was debating whether to ask you a social media question. Then I think I want to ask you something that's more on the personal/political side.
Okay.
I've noticed a lot of entrepreneurs in the internet age, and this is probably true of all time, come from families that have immigrated here.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in your thoughts just on the entire immigration debate, and also how that feeds into the change that you think that's going to happen both in marketing and culturally.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a true immigrant. I wasn't born here, right? So, of course, you know, it's like anything else. You're against the death penalty until something happens in your family and you want the death penalty, right? So it's very close to my heart. I couldn't imagine this country not, you know, Do you know that every part of my success, why I truly believe I'll buy the New York Jets, is based on the fact that I have so much gratitude? I'm completely driven by gratitude. I don't give a fuck about following count or money. I'm driven by the fact that I was born in the worst part of the Soviet Union, that right now we do not have an American embassy in because we have a dictator in Belarus. He's a piece of shit, right? And I can't go back to where I was born because they'll Google me and see numbers and kidnap me. You know? Do you know how grateful I am for that and the fact that my mother instilled so much self-esteem in me that she should go to jail because it should be illegal? You know, I'm just driven by complete gratitude that I ended up in this awesome country and have people that give a shit about what I have to say and all this, right? Gratitude, it's all I care about. And I think that I just couldn't imagine people not having the same opportunity I had. I just couldn't. It would break my heart. And I understand, you know, every point has a counterpoint, and I get it. And I just hope that we can find a middle ground and scare tactics don't take us away from the fabric of what we are. Because I'll tell you, you know, I saw some report the other day that we're like now third entrepreneurial country in the world. I don't know how that is, but I guess, you know, they come up with some bullshit data. The fact of the matter is, our entrepreneurial spirit is a huge backbone of our success. And I think that as long as we can coddle that, you know, listen, I think the place to really battle, to be honest with you, is schools. I'm very curious about education long term. You know, first I gotta buy the jets because I need that, but after I'm done with that, I really, like I failed all my classes, but I promise you, if there was the history of advertising or like sales or, you know, marketing 101 in 4th grade, I would dominate that shit. You know? Yes, dear. Hi, what's your name? Last question? Give me 2 more. Thanks.
Is this thing on? Oh, hi. I'm Anique London. How are you?
Hey, Neith, how are you?
Since you brought up the schools thing,
Yeah.
this is not a corporate America question.
Okay.
Happen to be co-chair of my daughter's PTO. And
Can I be the co-chair?
Sure.
I love you. I love you trying to close the deal. It's
I
good
had
stuff. It's good work.
I had to
Okay.
convince our principal that it was okay to have a Facebook page for our school.
Yeah.
And I've learned through a lot of my teacher friends that they're prohibited from having Facebook accounts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fear
Yeah.
in schools and teachers about moving to where the rest of us are. And I was
There was-
wondering if you could comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's classic. There was fear about Elvis. Right? He like shook his hips and was like, fucking devil. And everybody shut it down, you know? I mean, this is just our culture. Every school will have a Facebook page and integrate it into their world in 5 years, or 3, or 7. I'm not Notre Dame or Yoda. But you know, the fact of the matter is, it's gonna happen because it's our culture. This is the same old game. You know, how about Formspring? Formspring has taken over, you know, grammar school world and that age group. How many people here don't even know what formspring.me is? Don't lie, raise your hand. Yeah, I mean, you know, still a small site, just getting traction, but huge. It's an anonymous Q&A platform, and of course it's attractive to kids because if you don't know who's asking a question, really ridiculous questions start getting asked, and it's really become a shit-talking platform. But, you know, the fact of the matter is that all these things will be incorporated because this is the same old game, especially to an organization, and you guys should clap it up for yourselves because this is an old school organization. You guys have done it right, and it's got real traction. We've been through this rodeo before. I was on stage in 1997 after a guy stood on stage before me and said, this punk kid is gonna try to convince you that he's gonna sell wine on the internet. Nobody's gonna buy anything on the internet. You're gonna really buy something from Amazon, you're gonna go to Barnes & Noble's. So I got on stage and said, that guy's a fuckhead, you know? And he's gonna be on the wrong side of history. And there's a ton of people right now who are gonna be on the wrong side of history. And that's what I'm obsessed with. Especially when you publicly speak and it's being recorded, do not be on the wrong side of history. Do not say that you're gonna not check in and then be like, I fucking love Foursquare. You know, that's cheese. That's a bad place to be, you know? And you see it all the time. Those schools, that principal, I'll call his ass, email me, I'm dead serious. He's gonna be on the wrong side of history. Unless he's 79 and wants to retire next year, if he wants to be a principal long term, we need to punch him in his face. Oh, she's on the motherfucking wrong side of history. Okay. Well, then she's fucking awesome. Sorry, Miss Principal Thompson. One more, please. Oh, there's several hands wherever the mics are. I'll get you out. I'll come up and we'll hug it out after. Hey.
Hey.
What's your name? It's on.
It's on?
Yeah. Just take it
Julie.
close to the
My
mouth.
name's Julie.
Hey, Julie.
You were talking about being happy with your grandmother for being on Facebook.
Yep,
I have an 88-year-old mother who's on Facebook,
phenomenal.
and I have 3 grandchildren who are under 3 who are
Playing with the
phones. Well, iPads and mobile phones.
Yep.
So I'm interested in
Hold
kind
on,
of-
you have grandchildren that are under 3 that actually have mobile phones?
well, they play with their
Okay,
parents.
okay. Because that was about to get really awesome, and I was like, shit, this is moving maybe even faster than I thought. Go ahead.
Well, I was wondering if, as you say, you like to see into the future, but
Yeah.
I look at these little ones,
Yeah.
and this is
Oh,
the world that they know, and so how do you see that playing out, impacting everything? I mean, I think
We-
they could blow past.
we have
school
to be where
systems.
they're going to be, right? I mean, if we're going to want to sell to them, we're going to have to be where they want to be. And if they're not reading newspapers, listen, some guy bought 800 horses the day before Henry Ford created the car. He fucking lost. He deserved it. It's business. Business has no feelings. Business doesn't care about us. Business and technology will continue to change. It's our job to adjust to the marketplace. When I see, listen, I'm gonna get arrested real soon. Get ready for it. And here's why. Every time I go out, the amount of hovering and peeping I'm doing on 13 and 14-year-olds, I'm going to jail. You know, at first I was like, okay, don't do it to the girls, I'll do it to the guys. But I'm like, whoa, that's even creepier. So I was like, I'm like, how do I do this? Because I watched a kid the other day at Best Buy, ironically, big shout out to them the second time, literally, Facebook, I was waiting for somebody who I was meeting, Facebook, which video game should I buy? And just sat there and then checked and then bought on that. And then, and this is why this story is important, that same night, went to a movie and watched a person in line in front of me. And the person was like 60, 70. And I looked, they had their phone. Again, I'm not joking. I'm peeping a lot because I'm doing market research. Anyway, I'm not a Yenta, I promise. And so I'm like, is that TweetDeck? I'm like, he doesn't have TweetDeck. So I looked, sure enough, 67-year-old demo on TweetDeck. Which movie should I go watch? Town, or I can't remember the other one. Literally got his answers and then picked Town. I mean, crowdsourcing data on location of point of purchase. Do you think that's gonna matter to Walmart and Target and to movie theaters and sport? I mean, that's gonna matter to all of us. You think that's gonna matter to Wine Library when people walk in, I got this huge display, I really want you to buy this Chardonnay, and you don't give a rat's ass because you're getting context from your friend base? And more importantly, what's gonna happen when search changes? Because if you think it's gonna stay the way it is, I really, really disagree. Because I think it's really interesting if somebody like Facebook eventually gets into the search game seriously. Because the context of your relationships matters a lot more, and even their relationships. It's gonna be like the Kevin Bacon thing. Like when I'm searching for something, do I really want to get the information from somebody who hired an SEO firm? Or do I wanna get it, do my friends wanna go and type in wine on Google? Or do they wanna search wine on Facebook and get my results of all my data? I think it's gonna get real fascinating. I think we're really bad in thinking this is just the way it is. And I think there's a ton of shit happening. And those people that grow up, because I grew up watching, Scooby-Doo and playing outside and playing wiffle ball, they're not, and we need to figure it out. Hence why people have made billions of dollars by putting ads in video games. Something you couldn't do to a kid in the 70s, because guess what? Atari didn't come and dominate yet. Frogger, greatest game of all time. Guys, thank you so, so much for having me. Thank you. Have a great day. I don't want to go. Can I stay?